This video is brought to you by my Patreon. Support me for really nice exclusive wallpapers, early videos, and some other stuff. So, okay, here's the thing. I watched a bunch of Star Trek Discovery a while back, and like many other Trekkies out there, I got a sense that it's lacking something. There's some crucial X factor present in Star Trek from like the 90s that's missing from Discovery. And after watching almost 3 seasons, I finally pinned it. Modern Star Trek doesn't have enough weird little guys in it. Full disclosure, this isn't solely my discovery. Well, I mean, not that... Hold on a second. Okay, full disclosure, this isn't solely my breakthrough. Me and Sibling came up with this when we were watching Trek together, so half credit to Sibling, I guess. So first, we need to nail down exactly what we mean when we say weird little guy. In doing any kind of serious analysis, it's vitally important to determine straightforward, comprehensive, and totally unambiguous definitions for the relevant terms up front so the discussion is 100% clear. Google, what you got?
Weird little guy, noun. A weird little guy.
Sure, that works. Anyway, I won't list every weird little guy in Star Trek. There's too many, and the Memory Alpha page just has a general explanation of the concept and not like a list of characters, so this is just a broad overview. And since they're the real stars, you could say this video is gonna be a real Star Trek. I should edit that out of the video before I upload it. In my first draft of this bit was 1,000 words long, so I'm gonna try to be as succinct as I can and not repeat myself or say anything redundant. Starting now. Maybe later I'll make a more in-depth assessment of weird little guys in classic Trek. Comment if you'd like to see that, because I'd probably enjoy making it. I'm starting with DS9 for 3 fascinating reasons that I'm not telling you. DS9 is lousy with weird little guys. Every Ferengi, everyone played by Jeffrey Combs, Odo, Garrick, minor characters like Mayhardu and the augments from Julian's medical malpractice number 47. And you know what? Let's throw Julian in there. And Dax. No, not that Dax. That Dax. And Morn, and so many other characters, both major and minor. DS9 is dripping with weird little guys. It's soaked in them. It's oozing with weird little guys.
Please stop using analogies.
It's gaping with them, I say. In Voyager, there are definitely fewer recurring weird little guys, but Voyager has an ace up its sleeve. Voyager has my beautiful boy, Neelix, a character who I would argue isn't just a weird little guy, but the platonic ideal of a weird little guy. If you're unfamiliar with the term, you can go watch my mac and cheese video, but basically, Neelix is the weird little guy, by whom all other weird little guys are measured. Neelix radiates such profound weird little guy energy that he elevates the entire show. Now, I have let's say an extremely unpopular opinion about Star Trek, that I actually think that both Voyager and DS9 are better than both TNG and TOS. I know, what the heck was that?
Sorry, wrong button. I meant this one.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Anyway, I know. I won't go too in-depth with this, but what's relevant here is the lack of notable weird little guy energy in these shows. In the main cast of TNG, the only character who's even debatably a weird little guy is Data. And he's also by far the most popular TNG character. You have a handful of others, Guinan, Lore, I would say Luoxana Troi, except that Luoxana Troi is completely uncategorizable as anything but a Luoxana Troi. But anyway, nothing on the level of like Neelix is my point. None of the main characters of TOS are weird little guys, even debatably, with the closest being Spock, who like, I don't know, maybe you could say he's kinda the 1960s equivalent of a weird little guy, I guess? TNG and 2S do regularly feature weird little guys, but they're not usually given, like, real character development. Danvo Devatok the Keyboard Eater would get an episode about eating keyboards in TNG, he would get an emotional character arc in DS9. You get my point. However, even with all that, we still have weird little guys, and we got Data and Spock, so I guess I can begrudgingly admit that TOS and TNG are, like, legendary sci-fi that redefined the genre forever and are inarguably 2 of the most important pieces of televised fiction to come out in the past half-century. I guess. There's also Enterprise. Phlox is here. Approved! The modern Trek I've seen the most of is Discovery, so that's my focus here. It's fine. It's a pretty good TV show, but aside from a couple moments, it doesn't really generally feel like Star Trek. And I think a big part of that is this. Total weird little guy count for Star Trek Discovery. 1. Saru, and that's it. You could argue for Detmer or Arium or Linus, but for crying out loud, they're barely characters. Danvo Devitok gets more real development than Arium does, and I literally just made him up. A couple characters from previous Treks show up who arguably qualify, like Mudd or Spock, but they don't really count because, hey, those aren't Discovery characters, they're TOS characters. Plus, Saru's weird little guy energy is almost completely cancelled out by Burnham, who, while cool, radiates powerful anti-weird little guy energy. Now, I haven't seen much Strange New Worlds, Picard, or Prodigy yet, so I asked my siblings, and the general consensus is that Prodigy has lots, Strange New Worlds has at least a couple, and Picard doesn't have any. I've also brought in local video essayist Mecha-Moira to give her thoughts on the matter.
In what sense am I local? You live on a different continent.
That's not important right now. Don't look under your bed.
Okay.
Anyway, what's your judgment on the weird little guy situation?
Right, so Strange New Worlds had, in fact, the most perfect first series of Trek ever. Definitely Hemmer has weird little guy energy, with big grouch energy. Chapel also has feral little guy energy, living in your walls, armed with a hyperspray, cute girl things. Picard has so far in series 1 and 2 failed the weird little guy test. But we do have a weird Captain Man in Liam Shaw for Series 3, which is pretty close. Certainly Vadic has weird little guy energy. Prodigy is good. It feels like they took a lot of notes from She-Ra, and Murph is definitely a weird little guy.
Thanks, Moira. Everyone should go check out her channel immediately. She hasn't signed a contract saying that if she talks about Star Trek, she'll get executed immediately by space cops, like I have, so you should go check out her stuff. Bye, Moira!
Bye! Wait, you saw the contract?
Energizing! So, that's the consensus on weird little guy energy in those shows. And guess what? People love Strange New Worlds and Prodigy, and Picard was the punchline of a joke about bad television in my last video. Now, I can't help but feel like I'm missing something. Well, anyway, clearly, weird little guys are important to making a good Trek show. But why? Consider the following. If you have a friend group in cyberspace or meat space, tell me, are there any weird little guys in your friend group? Are there weird little guys in your classes or workplace? When you're shopping or riding the bus, do you see weird little guys? Are you a weird little guy? I'd be willing to bet the answer to some or all of those questions is yes. Because, like, the real world is packed with weird little guys. They're everywhere. Real life isn't all stalwart warriors and tense conversations and quipping Marvel characters and even, like, comic relief. And I know what you're thinking. MMS aren't weird little guys comic relief. The difference is, if a comic relief character stops trying to be funny, he stops being comic relief. If a weird little guy stops trying to be funny, he's still a weird little guy. And okay, I love steak. Love it. Protein, excellent. Hamburger, great. Chicken legs, spiral ham, bacon. Why did I write the script on an empty stomach? My point is that I like eating meat, but like, even if it was 5 different kinds of the best meat every time, I'd hate to only have meat for every meal. I need like some potatoes, or some broccoli, or good grief, a bag of chips. Something that isn't just meat. Similarly, your Star Trek needs weird little guys, and Discovery doesn't have them. And weird little guys aren't the only casualty here. There's all kinds of little guy energy missing in modern Trek. We haven't had a just a little guy since like Naomi Wildman. We haven't had a solid regular little guy since Miles O'Brien. Everyone in Discovery is a hero or a brilliant scientist or a spy or whatever. We need funky little dudes and cinnamon rolls and union workers and whatever Loxana Troy is. The foundation of these shows is their characters, so make the characters weird little guys. I still feel like I'm forgetting a modern Trek show. Oh, right! Lower Decks!
One, two, three, four. And I got faith of the hearts.
Special thanks to Justin Doak, my first legendary Manticore patron. If you'd like your name in the credits, go check out my Patreon, link in the description.
Faith of the heart.